But Austin, welcome back to the podcast. Today's podcast, I'm really excited about. We're going to be talking about relationship repair. Excuse me. You know, whether your spouse is on board or your spouse is not on board, what the things that you can do to repair your relationship, because there are a lot of things you can do if your spouse obviously wants to repair the relationship, that's a great thing. But even if they don't, there are things you can do personally, individually to make your relationship so much better. So we're going to hit on those today. For those of you, most of you are continuous listeners of the podcast, but maybe for those of you who don't listen, maybe you're just catching this first episode. Austin, welcome to the podcast, but introduce yourself
Sure.
to our audience. Tell a little bit about yourself so they can
Yeah,
know the amazing person they're hearing
I
from.
appreciate that. I mean, first and foremost, I always like to introduce myself as a husband first and a father next. And I am a marriage and family therapist. Obviously, Austin Ellis is my name. I went to school, let's see, in 2011 at UNLV, and my priority was to figure out how to help couples heal from betrayal, sexual betrayal. That is part of what led to my parents' divorce. It obviously impacted me at a deep level as a kid and played into my own relationship struggles. And so that was the core focus for a long time, was navigating those waters both personally and then with clients. And so I'm passionate about helping couples heal and have, I think, what I'll say God has available to couples. I don't think it needs to be a forever struggle that you're just kind of hanging on. And, I believe we can build really beautiful marriages and families. So I would say that's the core of me. That's what I'm about is relationships and families. So,
Well, you're right. You hear so many people that say, "Oh, that's just what marriage is. There's nothing I can do about it." That is not the case. You
right,
can have the marriage that you want, no matter where you're at, whether you feel like you're at the lowest of lows and there is no hope.
right,
There is absolutely hope. Amy and I have seen it personally in our life. We've seen it in so many other lives. I know Austin as well in his life and people that he's worked with. We're here to tell you that there is hope. I know for a lot of people, when they hear, the word therapist or therapy, they often think, oh, negative and oh man, tough and hard and um, maybe there's more negative things, but we want to give the message of hope that no matter where you're at, like there is sunshine, there is hope. You can get through it. Not only can you get through it, but you can get through it a lot quicker and have the marriage that you want a lot quicker than you think.
right. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that. There's been a progression for me over the years, and I think I have kind of a unique experience because I didn't go to school initially like with the goal of how do I become a therapist? How do I become, able to help a bunch of people? It was all inward directed. And so, while I was in school, I was learning things. I was going to therapy. Me and my wife were going to therapy, doing a bunch of different things. As a client, I've done a bunch of different types of therapy, and I'd learn them, and then I'd learn to practice them. And over the years, I started to learn like everybody, whether therapeutic, coaching, most of the things that are out there are to help humans heal, right? To
Mhm.
grow. And there's that balance of healing and growth. Not everything is because of our past. A lot of it is we haven't been trained or developed yet. And so when we talk about relationship healing, I think the frame that is the most helpful when I work with clients and it's really cool. Like when I start with a new couple, like it's sacred. Like they're bringing their deepest pain and their highest hopes to what is initially a stranger that I'm hopeful you can help me, right? And one of the things I would suggest that is the most helpful, and I've been told this by clients, the most helpful thing in that first meeting is they leave with hope.
Yeah.
Not a faraway hope, but what I have learned to bring to the table because of my own experiences, I am confident that no matter what they come with, no matter what, they can get it together. That's based on seeing couples come from devastation, as I mentioned in another episode.
Well, and let me just
Yeah,
interject. So
absolutely.
hitting on that. Amy is and my best friends in life are a couple that Austin has helped. That's how we got introduced to Austin. And Amy and I have completely seen their marriage transform just unbelievably. And so we've seen this firsthand. A couple coming from a very difficult, tough place, thinking maybe there wasn't any hope, to now having a marriage. I mean, an amazing marriage. Amy and I, we travel with them, we go out on date night with them, and just great friends, and just to see their relationship where it's at now is just remarkable. And so I just wanted to throw that in there because we've seen this firsthand. And that's something that happened fairly quickly. Like you said, it's not, I think a lot of people think, oh my heck, this is going to take years and years. And I think typical therapy, I have a sister that's been in therapy for 6 years and nothing's gotten better. So I think for a lot of times people have that, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in this forever or continue having to do this. But I'm here to tell you with the right tools, which Austin obviously has. And that's part of the reason having him on the podcast is to share these tools and these things with our audience. You can repair and heal your marriage a lot quicker than you think. So,
Yeah, I appreciate that. One of the cool things that I've gained this over the years. One, it started with other therapists, other people I respected that were having success. But once you see and you get to be a part of that journey for couples where they come from, separation or pain or, loss or all these things, and you get to walk that road with them, you do that enough times, you start to see what actually translates to healing and what doesn't. And one of the things when we talk about relationship repair, and part of my hope with this episode and truly everything we do is to empower you to do it in your own life. Like there's so many couples needing help. We can't possibly help every couple that comes, our way. That's something we're working on with a really
yep,
cool project.
exactly.
But I used to be part of a clinic where, I mean, we would have 25, 35 new clients every week and we didn't have enough therapists to treat it. And my primary role then was, I was seeing probably 30, 35 clients a week, and my primary role was training our other clinicians in, effective treatment. And it was cool because for that space of time, I was able to go train in anything I wanted to, and I was like just gathering pieces. It was a really, it was sexual betrayal, fair affairs, and betrayal trauma and we were one of the top in the country. And I was like, we got to do this more effectively. Like we're doing good work, but we have so many people coming in, and it's taking a longer time. And so I was gathering, like I'm trained in, and I was like, oh, they're doing this or they're doing that, and I was like bringing these pieces. And over time, I learned to like just combine them in a system that we see transform things really well. And so I want to talk to the couples listening that my goal here isn't to even necessarily promote therapy or a model of therapy. It's more to say you guys can heal, and I would suggest one of the best ways is to start to get intentional, right? Start to get out of the urgency and the fear and the pain and get into, okay, my marriage is here. What do we want? And notice your desires. Are they coming from the fear and anxieties? And see if you can get to the desires that are motivated by love and by care.
Yeah.
When we're hurting, our tendency is to focus on what we want. And a happy relationship doesn't typically happen when we focus on what we want.
Right, that's
It
true.
typically happens when we focus on, I want my spouse to have something great. When I'm coming from that place, typically a spouse will reciprocate, and then we can, refine it, right? We can start to talk about it more and more. And so, when I look at couples repair, right? Any couple can come in and they can leave with me saying, hey, there's a path. Um, there's some things we're going to do. One of those things, and there's things obviously I do in like I call them intensives or whatever. But those are things that can be done at home. And one of the primary things I do when I have a couple for like a day and a half, is I help them reconnect to why they got married in the first place, right? What did you want? What were you feeling then? Um, the truth is couples weren't always motivated by love in the beginning,
Yeah.
A lot of times it's sexual desire. It's right. We have all this passion. It's fun, which is all great. Developing the ability to be here because of love, even when you're not getting everything you want, that's a progression, and that's a mature type of love that develops over time. And so, when I have a couple come in, one of my first things I talk to them about what did you want, and then I talk about what do you want now, right? I mentioned this in a previous podcast. So often when they're looking in the past of what's not working, that's just where you're going to focus is the past,
Yeah.
the past, the past, or even the present. When we help them, okay, you want to create something. I often use the language like, I want to help you create something new, something better than it's ever been. Like, I don't think repairing that old thing that didn't really work. Let's just get you a
Yeah.
new, a
Let's get
new
rid of it.
relationship,
Yeah.
right? And the idea is kind of like you cross this threshold where couples are like, we're leaving that behind. We're gonna bring the good stuff, but this is where we're going. And the cool thing is, if you start to see the vision of what you want, you can say, well, what are the steps that would need to be happening so as to have that? And what's cool about it is it's not a long journey. It's like, well, those people that are happy are doing these things daily.
Hmm.
Okay, let's start doing those things daily. And there's a repair component, but part of that repair is truly the shift of now we're doing something different consistently. I see couples read like the way this I first saw this was I'd see people come in for like trauma work and they'd read like more books on trauma than me. I was like, geez, like
And
you're smarter than me
it's
with
not
trauma.
working.
Right. And I realized, oh, I'm trained in how to heal trauma. Understanding your trauma, your childhood, having insights about how it came to be is not the same thing as healing it. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing with the couples
So
work, right?
true.
And so a lot of times with couples, I don't want to help them, understand this is how it came to be and this is why it doesn't work. I want to say, "Oh, what do you want? Okay, let's figure out how to make that work. And here's the steps you take on a daily basis
Yeah.
that help you feel close and connected." And so in a way, we start to oversimplify it, but the steps are what do I do today to show my spouse love? What do I do today to show kindness? What do I do today to be available? And as that softens, now you can, like I said before, you can refine things, you can share preferences. If you get the sense that your partner cares about you and your preferences, talking about them is going to be way easier.
For
And if
sure.
love is already intact, a lot of people's, let's call it preferences, they start to go down. There's a lot of research on I'll share it like on this idea around let's just say like sexual intimacy. Couples who have a happy marriage, when asked how important is sex in your marriage, they account it for 20%. Like, yeah, it's important and it's great, but it's not our whole relationship. And it works well and it's a great thing for
Yeah.
them. When couples are in distress and they're struggling, kind of no matter why they're struggling, when asked how important is sexual intimacy, it goes up and they start to say 80%.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. And the reason for that is sexuality is that most powerful, connected component. And so when everything else isn't working, couples are kind of like, and it's typically one
Hanging on to
partner.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Typically one person is like, we just got to get sex together and it'll work. That's typically not what does it.
Yeah.
So I'm trained as a sex therapist and done a lot of work around that with a lot of couples. And it's interesting because whenever we start with like sex therapy issues, lack of desire or imbalanced or whatever it is, it's always, always, always an emotional repair. It's
Yeah.
very little about trading,
Yeah.
time, scheduling, and whatever, right? When you get that emotional bond repaired, sex tends to work. Frequency tends to be fine because
Yeah.
you're not going to sex to get something you don't have. You already have that love and that connection. And now you're having sex as an expression of, I already feel close to you, not
Yeah.
we
So
need this
true.
so I feel close. Right.
Yes, so true. So true. So as we dive in, we're going to hit on like how couples individually can can start to repair and
Sure.
how a couple together can start repair. And I think this is so important because so many people often feel like, well, there's nothing I can do. It's either both of us wanting to, help the marriage or,
Right.
which in some cases that may be the case, but I think there's a lot of things you can do individually to help repair
Right.
things.
Yeah, in the last episode I shared, 70% of divorces are initiated by a woman. Um, 85% of, relational healing is also initiated by a woman. That's not just therapy, that's coaching, that's reading book. Like,
Hmm.
women want healthy relationships, and it's important for us to understand that when 70% of women are bailing on marriages, it's not because they don't like marriage. It's not because they don't
Yeah.
want to be connected. It's not that they, whatever, hate sex or they aren't sexual. And this might be a hard thing. It's they don't want to be sexual with you anymore. They don't
Yep.
feel connected to you anymore. Women are relational, just as men are. So the fact that they're leaving relationships while also being the ones that are pursuing them the most in healing ways, it tells us that if you want a healthy relationship, that key element of desire from your spouse is it's under there. You can find that. And so maybe I'll start with the men, just kind of building on that last episode for men that are listening and they're like, my wife's not checked in. And that previous episode will be really helpful starting place. I'll build on that a little bit. And then I think we'll speak to the women who are like, I just want him to like engage and show up and I can give some pointers. That sound like a good direction?
Sounds great. Yeah.
Okay. So, when I come from like a relationship therapist, couples therapy is husband and wife are coming together. Relationship therapy is my spouse isn't here, but I want my relationship to heal. What's interesting about that is I can hear someone's perspective and they can tell me all their stuff, right? And I've learned over time not to buy the whole story,
Yeah.
right? That's perception, that's
Yep.
perspective. And so, one of the things I often do, in fact, our mutual friends, I saw the man first, and I said, "Hey, do you think she'd talk to me one time under the umbrella of I want to understand from her how to help you change?" I'm not talking relationship, I'm not talking healing, and women will give me that 100% of the time. They will share openly, this is what I want and need, right? So for those men listening, if you come genuine without, agenda and blame, and you just say, look, I can see our marriage is not working. I know you don't want to work with me. I know I'm sleeping on the couch, whatever, right? Just, but I want to know how to be a better man for you. I want to learn. This goes back to that responsibility. She may not tell you right away, or she might tell you with some flippant, like I said, she's testing. Are you genuine? If you care more about the healing and the connection than the moment, over time she will share that with you. She might share just one thing. Go do that thing and let her know you're committed to it. So for men in a situation where the wife isn't engaged, I don't want to oversimplify this because a lot of men go, that sounds great. How do I do it? But the simple solution is become very intentional. Start to look inward and go, what are the things I do that I think will draw her near that don't? It's just a math problem. It's
Yeah.
like, I do X, does it equal Y? Oh, no.
Yeah.
Right. So start to be curious. I want connection with her. Your base assumption should be she does want to connect. You need to be the version that she wants to connect with.
She's still here, right? She
Right.
hasn't filed
Mhm.
divorce papers yet.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And honestly, I've worked with so many couples that that has happened. I mean, there's hope.
yeah.
Okay. So, I think for the men, whenever I sit down with a man and his wife disengaged, the goal is we need to focus on you. That you can invite, but if you pressure, if you demand, if you criticize, if talk her into it, she may step in for a minute. I recently had a call from a guy. I mean, they're in the process of a divorce, and the process I just shared, I did. And I got on the phone with her. She was very open. There's some hard things there over the Christmas break. I don't know how it came to be, but in essence, like he was able to get her to be sexual with him, And he was like, great, we're back on. And she's like, no, we're still getting a
Everything's
divorce,
great.
right?
Yeah.
So you might be able to get her to have sex with you. Uh, your goal should be, I want her to want to be my spouse. So making it easy for her by just showing her love and kindness. Unfortunately, a lot of men, um, they're emotionally abusive and they don't know it. They don't know that they're hurting. It's not their intentions are not bad guys, but they are doing abusive behavior that doesn't create safety, that does create harm. And just to be able to start to look at that and say, is the way I'm interacting bringing a smile to her face, or is it she's angry at me or she's shut down? Like that's a pretty
Yeah.
simple tell. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So if I'm a guy that really wants his wife to, re-engage, I'm just focusing on what I can do to be the best version of me. It's not a helpful thing if you're weak and shame-based and unlovable and like be apologetic if you've made mistakes, but also come from a place of I do know I can be the guy that's worthy of your love, that can help you provide
Yeah.
safety. Truthfully, the men's events I do, they were created out of this. I was a couples therapist, and the couples I was seeing, like I was like, I can't make progress. These men are like, they're great guys, but they're stuck. And I can teach them the right things here intellectually. It was like, and this is for me personally, it was like intellectual information. I need like formation. I need the skill set. I
Yeah.
need the development type of behavior that I have it when I need it in the moment. And so information alone for most men, I mean, not for most men, like it doesn't work because when you're flooded, all that like it goes away. You don't think about it. And so that was one of the things that created this progression where I was like, if I can get a guy that's not triggered all the time, he's steady, right? I use this example of like a lighthouse or some men like think of a lion, just this presence, like we talked about in the last episode,
Yeah.
where I'm not threatened. I'm here to protect the thing between us. I'm maintaining the safety in the conversation so then I can just get reality. Like
Yeah.
try to get that truth. Um, and I will tell men, you might have to do that for longer than you think. If safety and promises have been broken for a long time, I hear women say, "Hey, I've seen him do great for 2, 3, 4 months. I'm not going to step back in when he's only shown me he can do 2, 3, 4 months. I might need 6 or 8,
Yeah. I
right?"
need to see more.
And so for men, it needs to be that commitment of this is who I'm being, whether she comes back towards me or not. I use this example, and luckily, I don't know this guy's name and anymore, and like it was a long time ago, right? But I use this example. This guy came in, and his wife had asked for a divorce, and he's like, "I'll do whatever it takes," and he'd betrayed her, and he's like, "I'll crawl through glass." I was like, "Yeah, bro, let's go. I'll guide you. Let's go." Right? And he came back the next week. I was like, how's the week? How's it going? I'm like, let's dive in. And he's like, I decided to move out and I'm gonna get a divorce. I was like, where's the crawl through
Yeah.
glass guy? Like,
Exactly.
and he's like, it's not worth it. And I was like, marriage is worth it, in my opinion. Your wife, your children are worth the effort. Um, I often tell men, the simplest way to say this is become the man you want to be, create safety, and then see what happens. If you can provide your best self and she's not interested, okay, then, right? Then, yeah,
Yeah.
let her
So
go.
true.
But if you show up consistently with just love and respect and care and kind of this steadiness, most women come back. And if she doesn't, now you're your best self and great. So that's one thing with the men. Any thoughts or questions you have around that
Well,
before I shift to
I was
women?
just going to say, I'm here to tell you that, a lot of times the easy way out is to, oh, I'm just giving up and I'm done. But I'm here to tell you, like, as you go through tough things in a marriage and relationship, if you come out on the other side stronger, your marriage is going to be deeper. You're going to be more in love. Like there's something even better on the other side of the mountain if you can become a better man and step it up and get through those things. I think a lot of people think, the damage has been done. There's nothing I can do. Maybe in some cases, but for most cases, I think, and I can tell you my relationship, like my relationship with Amy, I believe and feel is much better because of the things that we went through. And
Right.
so just know if you're in your marriage and you're struggling through some things, not only is there hope, but you have something better even waiting as you navigate through these things.
Yeah, and let me speak to the difficult for a minute. There are differences, for example, between why men and women cheat. An affair is the most devastating on a marriage, actually next to the death of a child. That's what the statistics show. Death of a child is the hardest on a couple. An affair is the next, but men and women have affairs for different reasons. And I won't go too deep into that in this episode, but one of the very interesting things is men will go to affairs even if marriage is happy. Women don't. If the marriage is happy and she feels close and connected, women don't want or seek anything else.
Yeah.
Just knowing that lets us know that your wife wants to connect with you. She wants you to show up. And so, I used to do these events, we call them Rise, and it was a lot of this like fighting for the marriage type of thing, which is valuable. We need that kind of like, commitment component. And more recently, I've been working on an event, I call it At One, and it really highlights this principle of how do I stay steady with who I am? And, I have this imagery of like the storm and the wind is like swirling around, and I'm just gonna be steady. And, we'll go into this maybe in another episode. I think of the masculine and feminine dynamic. The masculine is this steady presence. It's like the lighthouse anchored in the rock.
Yeah.
And a storm can come and the waves can come and it just stays. Like it's not rocked, it's not triggered all over the
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, exactly.
If you think of the feminine as like the waves can come and go. The waves can crash on the lighthouse and they can go away. The masculine still stays steady, knowing the feminine's going to come back. She wants to come towards me, but she's also her own person. When men cannot panic if a wife's, not available all the time, and they cannot panic when she's upset, right? That calms the feminine, and
What a great analogy.
yeah, that one's really been helpful for me, and I see that play out where when women feel that steadiness, they come towards a man. It's not just, oh, I guess I'm okay to be intimate with you, right? So many men are used to chasing, chasing, chasing. And if we're honest with ourselves, that's not crazy fulfilling because it doesn't let us feel wanted. It's
Yeah.
like a lot of men will say, I feel like she like gives in, right? Like, okay, fine.
Obligation.
Right. That's not what we want. So this steadiness presence, women start to come forward and they want to connect with you. They want to love you. They want to please you. Most women aren't, I would call it patient enough. The masculine is that patient
Yeah.
presence. So you want to shift gears a little bit to the women?
Yeah, getting to the couples. Yeah. So how can couples
Yeah,
repair and work
sure.
together?
Yeah,
And I
so
think that sounds pretty easy, but it isn't
right.
all the case.
So let me speak to the women just for a second. If your husband's disengaged, and this will be a much simpler than the men's component. If you can tap into your softness, okay, we call it a soft startup, okay. Um, Most women are when they're hurt, they're either withdrawn or they're critical angry, and it makes sense. If you can go with a soft startup, that can be a letter, that can be a kind word, that can be a hand, and the place I would start is not what you need, what he's not doing well, right? Again, it's this kind of invitation. It's, hey, I really want to have a great relationship with you where we're best friends, where when we're intimate, like I can be fully present, where we go on dates and we laugh and like I have all this good stuff I want to give you. I want to share some things that will help me be able to. Okay, men respond typically really well to that.
Oh yeah.
When a man knows that a wife wants to be intimate with him and she's about to share the path, then I'm not just talking sexual intimacy, but
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because when
Like I'll do anything, right?
right,
I want
right.
that.
And mo truly most men want like the good intimacy where she's engaged, right? And so to the women, like if you're letting him know, like I want to be fully present. I want to let go and have this great, relationship across the board, right? Most men will go, okay. Men have a sometimes a hard time connecting A with B, okay?
For sure.
And so if a woman can spell that out, like these things that create safety for me equal, this, a man's like, oh. And it's not that we're dumb, it's we don't think that way all the time.
You're hitting on such an important point. A lot of women just say, "Well, my husband should know what I need. I shouldn't have to tell him." And what you're saying is, no, tell your husband exactly what you need,
Right.
and he will really appreciate that. I tell that even with Amy after being married 23 years. I'm like, just tell me what you need, right?
Uh-huh. Right. Right. That ongoing communication is so important. Like if it works, it works,
Yeah,
and do it again. And I tell couples this all the time. I'll ask them like, tell me the time you felt the most happy and connected. Every couple has that. And I say, okay, you've already done this. Let's figure out how to do it more consistently.
yeah, so
When
true.
we look at there's ebbs and flows of marriage, and there's consistent, patterns of certain times in a couple's, longevity that are the most disruptive. Having a new child is, but also raising children is, right? There's certain things that happen when children leave the home. There's things
Yeah,
that happen, right, with change of career, moving, all these things. But when we look at these patterns, the consistent thing that is the most helpful is that that knowledge that couples go through ebbs and flows, and how do we repair, how do we come back to that connected safety. And so for the wives, just reiterating that soft invitation, that typically will get a man willing to do the work. It doesn't mean he doesn't have some changes and some work to do, or that you do.
yeah,
That can get him typically re-engaged. I will share this for the couple. Um, it's very difficult on either partner when they present a solution, even if it's a horrible solution. Okay, let's say it's the worst idea. Okay, but if your partner is presenting what looks like a solution and you're like, that's dumb, you're ruining your ability to reconnect, right? And so, if your spouse
yeah.
is like, hey, I think this would be really helpful, you may not do that thing. Try to hear that underlying desire. I want to improve, and don't hear it as a criticism. This is what a lot of couples hear when the spouse says like, I want to go to therapy, or I want to do this coaching program, or let's listen to this book or podcast. People turn it as a criticism of themselves. If you can hear it as, I want something great with you, that's what that is. It's not, even if it's a criticism of you, it's saying there's some things about you, imperfect human, me,
Yeah.
imperfect human, that are getting in the way of this thing. Let's overcome that
And at
together.
least they want it to get better, right? They're
Right.
reaching out saying, I want something better. Like,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So for the couples, I mean, there's more that I can share with the woman, but I mean that is the most effective, and it's not always easy to do, but it is fairly simple. Connect those dots.
Well, I think with
Um,
so much with a husband, well, and wife too, but it's how you approach it, right?
really.
And
Yeah.
and just hearing, your thoughts on how to approach this, I mean, that makes total sense. And the reaction is going to be so different versus approaching it the way like you need to do this and you need to do this. And I mean, it is so much of just how it's presented.
Right. Yeah. All people. I mean, this is where maturity comes in a relationship. Is when we can each kind of drop our, let's call it our pride, or our narcissism, or our
Yeah.
selfishness, and we go, pretty sure I'm not a perfect person. Pretty sure I don't get this right all the time. I want to be good. Share that with me. If a partner, male or female, goes and says, "Hey, I want to do better for you," someone's gonna feel, one, you're engaged in my well-being, you care about me, which is it's a primary attachment need, and two, they're more likely to reciprocate.
Yeah.
And so going back for a minute, when we talk about like the couple that is engaged, right, where they're like, hey, we both want to heal, we both want to come, One of the things I found most effectively over the years, I call it the new us. And the idea is this isn't a pretend new honeymoon, fresh start, there's no baggage. It's this conscious decision that like we're gonna choose a higher version of marriage. I'm gonna be a better woman, I'm gonna be a better man. And when I say better, maybe the word to say is more whole,
Yeah.
more integrated, more conscious. And these two people can create a better relationship than these two people, right? And a lot of times I use the word I'm heightening what's available. I'm saying, hey, that sounds great what you guys want. We can get that. We can also do this. How do you guys think? And they're like, yeah, cool. And they're like, we didn't know that was possible, or we didn't have that modeled to us, or whatever, right? And so they come in and going through this new us process, it's not super complex. I guide this process where first I want to, and I would say you can do this from home. What is the vision? Now, they don't always match, but the underlying pieces that you're trying to get met typically do
Yeah.
match.
Yeah.
So, right, the underlying piece is like, this is what helps me feel loved. I like when we go do this activity. Cool. I like when we go do that activity. You both want to feel loved or appreciated or, whatever. And so you start to create this vision. And if you can, I would try to get under the behaviors, meaning, go on this trip or do this thing. I would try to get like, I want to feel this with you. I want to feel close. I want to feel safe. I want to feel excited. I want to feel
Mhm.
passion. I want to, right, have this ease between us. Now you can start to co-construct what that is. When you have that, I call it a compelling future, a compelling vision. Like this is worth, the effort to create. Now it's much easier to say, okay, what gets in our way?
Yeah.
This can be anything. This can be anger. This can be anxiety. This can be depression. This can be fear. This can be, childhood sexual abuse. This can be addiction, affair, like what anything, right? And I mentioned this to you before. The work that I've had the opportunity to do and the tools and the systems we create, it transcends the issue, right? So people come in and like they anticipate that a certain type of marital healing or trauma healing or whatever is different. It's more of like here's the common pieces applied to all these different situations. And so with a couple, if you then can, as a couple, and I do this exercise, I say, let's put it all on the table. And I typically move from, couches and chairs and we go to a table and I get either a piece of paper or I get sticky notes. And I just start to say, what are all the things that get in the way of you guys creating this? Let's just put it on the table. And, it can be anything. It can be all this pain and devastation. And I say, okay, let's take a step back and I help them kind of move back, right? And I guide this little bit of process of helping them get connected back to the vision.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, this stuff on the table, it doesn't matter who brought it in. You two are going to have to figure out how to eliminate all this stuff that gets in the way and to get up here. And when I share that, I quickly say, it's not a focus on all these things. It's not you have 7 years and you got to do that and that and that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What I often do from there is I often say, let's pick the one that's, the biggest, challenge, okay? And I'll ask them, I'll say, what would need to happen or who would you need to become so this isn't in the way? And we start to discuss that and talk about that, and they start to share what they need and what would help them feel safe. And typically when they have that one, I say if that happens, if this safety happens with this instance, if there's this connection, if there's this kindness, this apology, what would it do to the rest? And they're like, well, the rest would also be taken care of. And I go,
Yeah. That's
cool,
true.
right. We don't have to address all the past. We have to address, or I should say, we don't have to address all the specific instances. We need to address the net result, right?
Yeah, and I love what you're saying too, because, and I see that often too, is like we look at all these things and we're like, oh my heck, I gotta deal with this and this, and we got to figure out this and this. But in so often is like you said, if you go back to the big thing or the root cause and you
Mhm.
figure that out, it's almost like all those other things just
Right.
naturally disappear, right? Like it doesn't happen all the time, but you know, typically if you can get rid of that big thing that,
Right.
like you said, is on the table, everything else gets so much
Right.
easier.
And the core piece of that, like part of my job is how do we make it simpler, right? How do we make it more effective? And so one of the cool things, one of the primary tools I use, I call it an upstream tool. Okay. The project you and I are working on, I mean, it's built around this. And the idea is if I can, as an individual, and if my spouse can do it, great too. But if we can get this kind of upstream thing in place, we don't need to do all the downstream stuff that we used to have to do. So I see in my work a lot of the things that I used to do with couples, like certain amount of sessions with a progression. It's like all those 15 teaching and guiding and conversations, they don't have to happen anymore because
Yeah.
this thing leads to the outcome that used to. And whatever they need to figure out down below, let's say it's like sexual intimacy, right? If they're each in a higher place, it's much easier to figure out intimacy than
Yeah.
if we're angry and hurt and
So true. So
afraid,
true.
right? And so, part of the project we're working on is this ability to help couples, I call it just return to this like higher focus of the vision and this conscious ability to say, is my reaction going to bring us closer to the vision today, or is it likely to draw us away? Now, this awareness, it takes some developmental time, takes some focus, but the cool thing for couples is when they both see, hey, I want this healthy marriage, and there is a tendency in me, just like everybody else, to trigger into disconnection,
Yeah.
right? And I don't want to use the term trigger all the time, but something can pull me away from us or from myself. And trigger can be, emotional response or whatever, but we can get distracted. We can get even, consumed in good things.
Mhm.
Like a man can be working to provide for his family. It's a great thing. He can get lost in it, right? A
Absolutely.
woman,
Been
a
there.
woman can be, fully engaged in helping the kids with, schoolwork or whatever. That's a great thing. She can get consumed in it, for example. And so having these things as a couple that bring you back, and that's typically what I send couples with is like, here's a custom plan that helps you guys stay with it and you do regular things individually.
Yeah.
Like as a husband, it's really valuable. I know my wife. I've been married to her for 19 years. I know what works, what doesn't. If I have in my, let's call it weekly structure, a way to bring me back and like, oh yeah, I need to think about that. I know it, but it's not in my mind if I'm doing other things. And so I have these tools that bring me back and I go, okay, how do I show her love today? How do I apologize when I mess up, right? And that's what's cool is when we help couples, I'd call it build a system. Now they're no longer dependent on a therapist or a coach. They use the system that works for them, and it's so powerful if it's like if they can customize. This is our way of life that we chose. Austin didn't tell me, Nick and Amy didn't tell me, right? Like, and I would say the couples that are the most successful is when they will include, I'll call it revelation and inspiration
Oh,
from
for
God,
sure.
right? So, thoughts on that? Questions on any of
Oh,
that?
I think you're spot on, and we talk about that often. Obviously, most of the listeners out there are Christian or believe in some a higher power, so to speak. And I think obviously that can be a great influence in having a better marriage and understanding and knowing what couples need to do. But oh, it's a great discussion, and I think this will give some couples insight on, what they can do individually on how to approach their spouse or what they can do together to have a better marriage. And we'll continue to, I'm excited because we're going to continue to have you on future episodes, giving these tools and things that couples can do to start implementing in their marriage as well. And so that's kind of the Ultimate Intimacy podcast moving forward. You're kind of going to see us kind of transition a little bit from obviously Amy and I will still continue to to talk and do things, but we're also gonna have Austin start coming in a little bit, well, a lot more often, excuse me, and being able to offer you the tools and the things that you need. We've had a lot of you reach out that are dealing with things that I think Austin can help with a lot more than maybe Amy and I can sometimes as well too. So we hope you enjoy the changes that are coming to Ultimate Intimacy. And also, like I said, we're going to announce a future project that we're doing together with Austin here shortly that I think is going to be just incredible and be able to help a lot of people all over the world. So thanks again for being on with us, Austin.
Yeah, of course, love it. Love the work you guys are doing. Excited for what we're doing. So, yeah, anybody that needs some help, like we want to help you, and we want to make it become great again, quicker, and the right tools and the right skills. That's what changed things for me and my wife. And it took me a long time to figure them out, meaning implement them, but they're not complex. So that's some things that we'll share in upcoming episodes some more, and implementing these relational skills that translate to connection. No
Yeah.
more just theory and information, for all of us.
Uh, and even more so nowadays, I mean, there's a war on marriage, and there's nothing better than having a good relationship. And so that's what we're here to try to help all of you listening to do is to, we call it ultimate intimacy. And when everything is let me rephrase that. Everything isn't always going to be good. There's, like Austin said, there's ups and downs, but I think when you have the tools and the things in that toolbox to know what to do, you can maintain that level of ultimate intimacy a lot more often. And that's what we're trying to help you do. So appreciate you listening to the podcast, and until next time.